plots. Do you think that he's making the right call to press ahead with them?
Well, the thing is, I don't think Nkurunziza, the president of Burundi, has received enough pressure from the world, because if he had, he would have indeed delayed this election. But disappointingly, he seems to be poised to go ahead with the elections. And one of the reasons he's still poised to go ahead with the election, because regionally, leaders are supporting him, although they don't want to say publicly that they support him going ahead with these elections.
And I suppose in order to stand up to the failed coup plotters, you would want to show yourself as being a strong leader and essentially get back to business as normal, therefore have the elections as normal. But do you think there's a case for them to be free and fair after what we've seen?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not in Burundi. There's been one election in Burundi, or two elections in fact. We were somehow democratic, but apart from those two elections, we haven't seen anything that has been anywhere close to being called democratic. And the next election, the one scheduled for June, would certainly see President Nkurunziza re-elected again, possibly in the same way Saddam Hussein was re-elected with 90% of the vote.
What do you make of his decision to condemn al-Shabaab rather than address the issues that have arisen with this failed coup plot?
Well, it's a political movement. It's a political strategy. He's being clever. He knows that al-Shabaab is right around the corner, and he knows that Uganda has been already attacked by al-Shabaab. So by mentioning al-Shabaab, he's essentially bringing Uganda on his side. He's bringing Kenya on his side, and he's somehow also trying to rally the international mood, which seems to be fighting against the growing sector of Islamists in that part of the world. So that's essentially what he's trying to do. But the reality is the political situation in Burundi is far from safe and far from certain. And clearly Nkurunziza would somehow face some sort of challenge in weeks and months to come.
So we're hearing reports of shots that have been fired at protesters and demonstrating still continuing in parts of the capital, while in other areas that are more supportive of Pierre Nkurunziza, life returns to normal. So how can essentially he justify coming back and ruling when there's such division within the country?
Well, he's a dictator. Nkurunziza, he's a prototype of dictatorial regime in that part of the world. And essentially Burundi is one of those societies which is incredibly divided. Divided along ethnic line, divided along historical line. It's one of the most violent small countries in Africa. It has seen a lot of killing in the 1990s. In fact, the current Burundi we know is a legacy of Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela put it together as a country. It's only sort of peacekeeping or peace mission legacy left in Africa.
But if he has a mandate, essentially, to govern for a third term, if the Parliament did elect him in the first case, does he have a right to be able to say, I'm the right leader for the country, and therefore what I say goes? Well,
that's the issue. Now, the current Burundi as it exists on the premises that the president will only serve 2 terms. He's already served his first, and this is his second. Now, he wants to serve for the third time. And that essentially puts the Arusha Agreement, which holds that country together, in tatters. And which essentially is another way of sort of saying, in weeks to come, those people who plotted the last coup, which somehow failed, would somehow find a way to come back at him.
Those who sided with the failed coup leader, General Godefroid Niyombare, and the way that they will be treated in the coming weeks, how do you think that the way that the country is perceived by the outside world will determine, will rest upon how these people are treated?
Well, the funny thing is, at present, President Nkurunziza essentially doesn't care what the world says or what the world thinks, because we have been, as an international community, we have been incredibly passive. The biggest player in the continent, which is Nigeria and South Africa, have yet said a single word. Congo, which is Burundi's next door neighbor. And Congo, the president of that country itself, finds himself in a similar situation as the president of Burundi, which is wanting a third term. And you have the president of Rwanda, a neighbor to Burundi, wanting a third term. You have the president of Uganda, another neighbor, wanting a third term. So he finds himself essentially surrounded by a brotherhood of dictators who tell him, well, I'll tell you what, mate, just stay there, okay? Pretend as if you're not hearing them, because we all want the same thing, a third term. And the reason they want those third term is because they know if they leave power, justice would haunt them.
Vava Tampa, thank you very much indeed for that.
The pleasure's mine.
Now that